Hello, hello, good afternoon. So, I'm going to be doing some setup. This is going to be like the getting started, starting soon, but I've already started, sort of, kind of thing. So, you'll be able to kind of be here while I set up some things and people show up for the stream and all that kind of stuff. So, it's going to be one of those streams where, I'm doing the thing and stick around for some chatting. I'm going to go over some comments in YouTube. Some interesting comments and some not so interesting comments. What I'm doing right now is setting things up so it's live on Twitch as well. So, yeah, dead air. And it's okay. Today's a relaxing day for me. Today's a relaxing day for painting. Painting and answering questions. And hopefully I can type and get that spelled right as well. If not, it's okay. It's totally okay. Well, I'm kind of enjoying how my monitor is in the way. It creates a little bit of depth there. It feels like I'm right in the middle of like a bunch of stuff. Camera behind me, monitor this way, the mic's right here. Everything's in the way. Oh, I got to check the mic levels. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There we're good. We're good. I also bought some WD-40 because that's annoying me. Whenever I move my mic around, because I need to move it around a lot because I'm always shifting, you get kind of the squeak going on. So you're not seeing anything here, and it's blurry because we're going to set it up. I'm going to put my painting, let's say, right about, actually probably where it was previously. And I need to line it up with my palette so you can see my palette well. Bring the palette in. Oh, I need to do some like zooming in and out and everything. Okay. That'll be good. Let me fix this focus. I kind of like the idea. Hey, another person, how you doing? Oh, technology overload. Are you the real Chris or an AI android? Definitely the real Chris. Oh, the color's covering it up. We'll just leave it off for right now. Yeah, talk about, well, actually what I was about to say was I kind of like showing the stuff that you have to go through in order to get this going, set up. Did I change the focus so the focus is locked? If I did it right, it won't focus on my hand and it'll always focus there. Very different than this camera, because this camera, if it doesn't see a face, you see, it just decides to focus on something random. So if I look away, there's so much technology involved in all this, I mean, I guess it's kind of good. There is some barrier to people getting on YouTube, right? And doing their thing. And you can really tell when it's just like a cell phone and someone just speaking to the cell phone. And it isn't like I'm doing much more than that, honestly. I like the streams because it's easy. It is easier. I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. I don't have to worry about a script, number one. I can be myself. I can be authentic. And hopefully the people that are joining, like another person online, -E8G. Pseudonyms. Oh my goodness. Hopefully the people like you that are joining are like, okay, we'll just, keep Chris in the background, because he's definitely not talking about anything important. He's just working on a painting today. They're trying to finish this painting up. I don't want to do a lot more on this painting, to tell you the truth. I want to keep it. What's the word? Words matter, right? Words matter. Yo, that's what you say. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it about the brushwork. I want to keep it impressionistic, because that's, that's like the word that's thrown around all the time, right? Impressionistic, right? Hey, Michael, how you doing? Welcome. So I love the thickness in all these white areas, which is, all the paint is pretty thick anyways, but I've really chunked it on with the white, just white right out of the tube, right on those highlighted areas. Okay. Did I expand my color palette? Yeah, for this painting, definitely. So I'm working with a split primary here. If you have questions on what a split primary is, I can go into detail on that. You know me, I like going into detail on all this stuff. If you have any questions, no matter how weird you think they are, please ask. As long as it's related to art stuff, right? Don't ask me questions about like foot fungus or something like that. I don't know why that popped in my head. That was awful. Let's not talk about that. Well, probably because I'm working on feet and hands. So I want to keep it simple. I don't want to go into a tremendous amount of detail. And the focus, the focal point of this whole painting is basically done. This area here. And I love that the center of interest, or the center of interest, is really down here. But I love that there's this hole in the center of the painting. And there's something about building up this impasto, this really thick paint in places, that gives you, what do you call it when there's a sculpture that is coming out of the wall, like a relief. It gives you like a bas relief or something like that. I feel the movement forward. You can feel that. And then I really pushed that idea. You see how these brushstrokes are going against the form, rounding that form. Thank you, Van Gogh. Van Gogh did that. Lots of other people did that as well. But, that's part of it. At some point in this stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up, I'm going to work on the painting for a bit, and then I'm going to pull up some questions that have been asked on YouTube. And I'm going to go through a couple. And I have some complaints. Like I can complain about anything, right? Things are going well. But hopefully I can educate some people on, how not to be jerks on social media. Good luck, Chris, with that one. Because words matter. And tone is not communicated well. I got some new brushes, okay? I want to show this. Inexpensive, fairly inexpensive. These brushes are huge. These are big brushes, bigger than what I normally use. So I bought a few days ago, maybe a week ago, I bought these Utrecht brushes. These are from dickblick.com. And I worked on this one for a while. I like the way it feels. It's a Utrecht white nylon sable 232. That's the number 232. They're made in Germany. And I liked the feel of the brushes so much. It's very subjective. Slowly backing away. Yeah. Slowly back away from the stream. So we always, when we're dealing with supplies, guys, this is a caveat I'm always going to give. Subjectivity surrounds supplies tremendously. There's some things out there, maybe like woodworking or something, or engineering, where people say, no, you have to do it this way. When you're building a house, there's certain things that you have to do, and certain materials you have to use in a certain way, like it's objective. No, this is better than that. Maybe. I don't know. I've never built a house. But with artistic tools, I got some more brushes too. It is subjective. You could buy these brushes and go, what the heck is he thinking? These are awful. I hate these. Because it's so subjective. The other ones I got were these Snap by Princeton. Flat shader number 10 and a flat shader 16. I was wanting some bigger brushes. After working on this painting, I'm like, man, I really want some bigger strokes in these places. So don't go out and buy these brushes because you like the painting that I'm doing here and you're going to think like, oh, those brushes are going to allow me to make paintings like Chris Bevan does. No, they're just going to frustrate you. That's all they do. And I'm not lying. It isn't like I don't know this. See these two brushes? I barely ever use these. I bought these because Nicholas Uribe uses these right now and he likes them. I hate these brushes. I don't like them. They're okay, but no, they're not for me, you know? Same thing with here. Like Nicholas Uribe was, he uses the same brush here. And I'm like, no, doesn't work for me. And you know how much money I've wasted by looking at amazing artists that I love and going, oh, let me buy their materials because it'll help me be a better painter. No. And there's one thing I feel like you can't get away from is collecting things. Like this is one of 3 cans of brushes that I have. There's 1, there's 2, and the third one's behind me on a shelf. Oh, and then I also have this pack too. Do I use all those? No, the majority of them I don't use. There's material collection, I think, is part of the game, definitely. Hey, Chris, welcome. I like big brushes, and you cannot lie. There's a Sir Mix-a-Lot song within that, right? I like big brushes. Okay. Sorry. My brain is a little fried. So I'm going to use some bigger brushes today. These are new ones. This is a number 12 from Utrecht. And we're going to simply finish the rest of this. And there's not much left to do on it. I really love the simplicity of things down here. I love my transition of values where it goes from this light and saturation down into these darker areas. And these little accents of saturation that I just pop into places because it's fun. And that's it. That's it. Oh, did I beat you to it on the I cannot lie? No, thank you. I think we were thinking about, that song at the same time. That's fantastic. A lot of the paintings I did in this series, I was thinking deeply about the narrative of the photo that I took. And the last one and this one, I really departed away from the narrative in service of more of an interesting way to paint, honestly. Or an interesting way that I want to put paint down. And that's always good. The reasoning behind why we do the things we do within art can be, as wide and different as everyone on the planet. Definitely. What do you think, LaFay? As my kid, they don't bother me at all until I'm in here talking. And then they're like, what are you talking about, Daddy? What are you talking about? Why aren't you including me? I know you're very important. Okay. Come here. Hi. So, no, you're going to be on stream. Here we go. This is LaFay. It's French for the fairy. She is the fairy princess. Look at her. Look, she's like, put me down, Dad. Just put me down, even though she's purring. Now, Vincent was bothering me earlier. He was wanting food, and I was like, no, not happening right now. Give me a second. I need to close my door. You got to go. Sorry, you got to go. I'll love on them soon. I have only one can with a few brushes and it's fine for me. More than enough. Good. If you've, if you're lucky enough to find the materials that you like really quickly without collecting a whole bunch, that's wonderful. If you can go into an art store and go, no, I'm good. Then that's wonderful. Do that, please. Me, I go into an art store and it's like a candy store, right? I just kind of lose my mind here. Just kind of lose it and go, nope, that looks cool to try. That looks cool to try. And a lot of it is, I want to understand these materials a little bit better so that I can use them when I create videos about brushes and certain materials. Then I can give you guys like an understanding of multiple different types of materials, right? In different ways to use them. Like this is what this brush is good for and that brush are not what it's good for, but more like this is the properties of this brush and that brush. I really think that's the best way of doing it. Not looking at these materials as, this kind of subjective binary of good and bad, but this idea of like, hey, this is a great material. Here is its properties. Does that work for what you need? Because I have no idea what you need, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm focusing on some of these shadow areas. I got the painting like just barely on here, so it's moving all over the place. That's fine. Focusing on these darker areas. And because I do have enough established where I like the way the paintings look, what the painting is looking, what I want to do is reinforce this area down here. So I'm kind of darkening up some things at the top, thinking about a channel of focus that kind of comes down this way. I don't want too much high contrast up here. I don't want a lot of sharp edges. I don't want a lot of detail. I want simplicity. I want all of this up here to support the bottom half of the painting, but not distract away from it, if that makes sense, which is hard to do sometimes. You have to like give up a lot of that detail and a lot of these very specific things. I walk into the Blix and I just say, take all my money. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Omar, welcome. What's the contrast? Because I get mixed up with it and the value. So contrast is, what's the best way to say that, to define contrast? So high contrast, everything's on a spectrum, right? Everything can have, light. Well, the spectrum for contrast is, you got high contrast and low contrast. High contrast would be you're using all values from like 1 to 10, from white to black within your whole painting. And there is a definite delineation between the two. You have your definite bright white area and a definite dark area. And there's not a lot of tones in between that or values in between that. It's a very high contrast painting. A very low contrast painting would be a painting that has a lot of values that are pretty close together, light and dark, right? Let me show you some examples. We think visually all the time, so I need to bring up my art inspiration folder. Yay. Examples. So high contrast. I love high contrast. Usually I could find, I want to see some paintings that have like really definite high contrast. I'm looking at artists here on my list. Oop, I have to be careful because, figures on streams. Let's show you low contrast first because I know this one right away. So this is Claude Monet. Hey, Claude. Morning haze. So this is low contrast. So it's when we talk about contrast, it's speaking about the combination of all the values that are in the painting or the image that you're looking at. And here it's low contrast because we have white and then maybe one or two steps away from white, right? There's not a great amount of contrast. And if we looked at that on, let's say, our handy dandy value chart here, so all about values, that painting by Monet is like right here, bam, 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 white, and maybe these three, maybe into four, So low contrast, compress the value range. We're not going all the way down here. It's just that, okay? Wonderful painting because of that. It's an interesting concept. We'll get into that within the painter's path as well. So that's low contrast. Think about all the values close together, right? And it could be dark that way too. High contrast is going to use the full spectrum, but have, here we go. Here's some photos by Fran Fan Ho. Love these photos. These are gorgeous. Look at this, like beautiful composition here. This is a perfect example of high contrast. We got white, as white as you can get, to deep black, and not a lot of values in between, right? It's very simple. Just white, black, and maybe 2 or 3 grays, and that's it. High contrast, okay? High contrast, low contrast. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you need more clarity on that. So value is all about light to dark scale, and contrast speaks about how all those values kind of work together in one or multiple scenarios, right? In a very individual painting or not. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to make this darker up here. And I've taped my painting to my drawing board in such a way that in order to actually finish it up, I have to remove the tape and then, move the paint around that's up there. Another person says, good thing I'm broke most of the time after bills. Yeah, I feel you on that one. Hey, Dennis, welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. I want to darken this up as well. Deepen this kind of idea of this center area being just like a dark hole that we look into. And it's probably pretty dark as it is. It's just a lot of times when these darker paints dry, they get a bit matte, M-A-T-T. So they lose their luster, their sheen, their shine, however you want to say it, and their values. They lose that really deep, dark value. So a lot of that we have to kind of understand. Yeah, that's nice. Just subtlety there. Very subtle. What I might do is, so we got this, this is the arm and the hand, the wrist that goes down in here. And then this is the leg that goes into the ankle and then eventually the foot. And then we have this hand here that's coming down. But, the photo, which you guys won't see, sorry, can't show it. Meredith Mindfulness, welcome. Good morning from Sydney. I might darken these up here, bring this value down a bit so that, it's an intentional change from the photo so that I can get a bit of a better understanding. Or no, what am I saying? Not understanding. So I can remove the contrast up top here, right? So I've already put these darks down. This white right next to it is high contrast. If I make it all darker up here, think about like a vignette, vignetting things so that down here there's more of a focus, right? So that's what I'm thinking right now about that within this painting. I love how we can move through these fundamentals of painting, right? And we can think about how we want to speak about our subject matter through value and composition and drawing and edges and all this stuff. The one thing I try to talk to people about all the time is like, hey, just stop thinking utterly about, this idea that you have to look at the image and do what the image is saying. At first, that's fine. We do this because we don't know how to depart from imagery. There's also some bracelets here, and I'm going to put those in very simply because I think it'll help, like that barrier, like our eyes want to travel along that lighter area. It'll be like a barrier, like your eyes kind of bump up against it and then come right back down. But at the beginning, yeah, we want to copy from the photo, right? We want to do what the photo's saying or what nature is telling us as we're looking at it. But that's not, in my opinion, where we should stop. I think art becomes really interesting, really, really interesting when we have an opinion on what we're actually painting and we say, you know what, I think it's going to be better if I change this up. Dennis says, man, you can paint some hands. Looks awesome. I wish I could at least draw them. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what I did on this? Just, full disclosure. Just to give you an idea. So I drew it out first, very haphazardly. The second session you guys didn't see because it was just like a half an hour, just a quick session. It was one of my minimum days where I was like, I don't feel like painting. I don't feel well. I'm just going to do some minimum stuff, right? And I ended up redrawing the hands a little bit more exactly. And I did that. I showed this technique multiple times on the stream. And if you want to see the drawing fixing technique that I use digitally, I can show that again, but not today. I'm sure it'll come up again some other time. But I used that where I took a picture, I compared it with, directly with the image, and I fixed up some things. So I got the drawing a little bit more exact. And I really needed to, because this finger coming directly at us, it's such an interesting foreshortening. Plus this one here, because there's a grip that's happening right at the end of this finger. Look how long this finger is compared to that one. There's a foreshortening there. And I was like, it looks so weird to me. I need to get that drawing a lot better, right? I didn't understand how the foreshortening was working. So I fell back to my crutch of using digital means to fix that drawing and get it a little bit closer. So can I draw hands really well? I don't know. Not as good as like Nicholas Uribe can, like right out the box without using any other tools or means. And then he'll do the same thing. He'll say, man, I suck at drawing. And then the drawing is so good. It's like so much better than me. But that's, he's at his level, so that's cool. There's actually a watch up here and an armband as well. I want to darken up this area for the armband. There's this barrier to keep people down at the bottom. It's almost like I want like a de-evolution of the rest of the body up here. Like it just kind of breaks apart into nothing. There's this white watch that's up there, but no, I don't care about it. Nope. This painting is not about that watch. It's not about the wrists up there. It's about everything down here. Having that intention, like what's this painting about? Focusing on that, They don't have to always do that, but it's good to have some focus. It makes your job a little bit easier, honestly. Hey, Cookie, welcome. Good to see you. Dennis says, it takes me a tremendous amount of focus and time to get something down, and that even looks like a hand, a human one anyways. Yeah, don't worry about time. Time that it takes for you to get from a white canvas to, or, nothing drawn to a hand that you're happy with. Don't worry about how much time it takes to get to that point. Just keep working on hands, as they come up when you want to do them. Like, too often we focus on like, oh, the reason why this person's good is because they can do it quickly. And then you get, a lot of pretentious artists that are on like, oh man, pretentious. Boy, I'm really throwing down the gauntlet on some of these guys, aren't I? Where, they're on like America's Got Talent or something, right? And they're doing this painting, it's upside down. It's really fast, right? And within like 5 minutes, they turn it up, right side up, and it's Bruce Lee, a very simple rendition of Bruce Lee. And it's like, okay, they've taken that idea of like fast meaning good too far. And you're like, dude, okay, whatever, it's entertaining. That's cool. But that really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, I was talking about that yesterday on when I was doing the Beginning for Drawing Painters course, lesson 6 yesterday on stream. I was talking about, we go to the museums, right? We see that wonderful Rembrandt or Van Gogh or, Ouglo or whomever, Jenny Saville, or any of these amazing artists. And we look at the little plaque of what it's called, and none of it will say, she finished this painting in 24 hours and 56 minutes. No one cares about that. No one, you look at John Singer Sargent's paintings and they're not going to like, oh, here's the picture of the people that John Singer Sargent was actually painting. As you can see, he was not able to get their likeness perfect. Like we'll never see that either. We'll just look at the painting for itself. Who cares if it looked like the people, right? Yeah, so take your time. Like just bust out as many as you can, put as much time in as you can. And then eventually one day you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at painting hands. Yeah. And all it took was for me just to have fun doing it over and over and over again. And yes, over and over again is a thing, right? I don't like saying that all the time because it kind of goes without saying, like putting the work in is necessary. But, I guess that's kind of close to saying obvious. So it's still not obvious as well. Maybe people don't know that. Oh yeah, work, art and work. You have to do both at the same time to get better at it. Like, it's a little frustrating sometimes when I hear artists like, they've been painting for a couple years and then they look at, like, they go to the museum and they're like, why can't I paint that good? Oh, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, how dare you? You're looking at an artist that, painted their whole life to get to this point, and you're just like simplifying it down into, oh, why can't I do it in a couple years? Like, no. Maybe you don't realize how complex this stuff can get. But relax, Chris. Come on. So take your time on that. Focus is good. Yeah, tremendous amount of focus. Man, still today, for hands and faces, I have to have full focus. If I don't, it's not going to look good. And sometimes it's okay. It's like, okay, I'm just having fun. Do I care about how accurate it is? No, it's okay. It's okay. Not a big deal. But focus will always be something that you have to think about. Think about this. It's kind of obvious. Well, no, I hate that word. I hate obvious. I say it all the time. If you're in your studio and you have, I don't know, like Chris in the background talking to you, and you're trying to listen to Chris, And then your significant other's in there and they're talking about something else and you're trying to listen to them. And then the cat's in there bothering you too. And you got music on, right? You got this painting that you're working on or whatever. You're not really going to be making a great painting with all that. Or, something like the cat pukes on the carpet, right? This was from Richard Schmid's book. And you're thinking about that, you got to get that done, and then oh man, someone's at the door, and oh no, you forgot to pay that bill or something, and all of this other stuff is happening. There's a leak in your kitchen that you need to take care of, and the laundry's not finished. You have to do that. That's not the right time to start a painting, right? It's like, okay, I could start a painting now, but it's not going to be good, or a drawing. Let's, come back to it when I have a better focus. So focus is always going to be there. Hey, Krista, welcome. Just saw you online. I didn't see last night's until midnight tonight. I'll watch The Painter's Path. These hands look really great. Thank you. Yeah, whenever you can get to it. It's on there for you. And only you, Krista. That's just for you. I'm thinking about you when I make these videos. That's true. I'm not lying about that. Not only you, obviously, but yeah. So give me feedback on what you think on a lot of these, all the Painter's Path stuff that you're seeing. If it's working for you, or if you need more help or more questions. I'm working with the people that create the plugin that I'm using to create that course on my website, the course structure and everything. Really actually good. It's called SureDash. It's where I'm building the course on. And it's a really good platform, really good support. I've been talking with their support people about unable to post images, and I fixed that. It was because the Painter's Path users didn't have a particular user role. So you have that role now. Alex was having trouble posting some of those images. So you can post those images now underneath. Please check it out. Yeah, post some of your drawings. Ask me questions about it, right? Doesn't have to be the Painter's Path. It could be anything. That's why you're in there. That's why you're paying the big bucks for it. So I can help you out as much as I can. So that's possible now. The only unfortunate thing about it is, for some reason, there's like some comments will disappear when you post other comments. So they're working on that. That's a bug that they're fixing. So it's there. I'm glad you're in there. Omar says that's frame and frame composition. Yeah, oh geez, what was the photographer name? Fan Ho? Yes. It's like an area inside of an area, definitely. Another person online, working and lurking. Chris, let me know if you need an assistant after AI wipes out jobs. Right. Well, it won't if we would just stop using it, right? Everybody needs to just stop. But it's hard. It's like I had to jump through a whole bunch of hoops just to get stupid Google so that it wasn't showing me AI results. Like, it doesn't go through AI when I use Google to search for things. Such a big pain. And all these companies are, I don't know, they're just out of touch, I think. Well, it's not that they're out of touch. They've invested so much money into artificial intelligence that they're trying to get people to use it and try and get their money back, which everyone hates it. The majority of people hate artificial intelligence. And most of it, still a lot of companies, you'll say, hey, we just released a new version with AI, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm not using your service ever again. Yeah, I hate it with a passion now. I literally used AI for a while and painted from some of the images it resulted in, but it has become a tremendous bane, not only on the planet, and environmental concerns, but also for artists and professionals alike. Writers. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Stop using it, guys. Chris says, I feel you on that. Dennis, good. So contrast also used in color. Yes, 100%. Yeah, because it's about value and you can't separate value away from color. You know, color will always come along with the big three things, which is hue, saturation, and value. So you'll see that throughout all of it. Hue, saturation, value. Yeah, if you did a painting or a drawing, right, and it was just black and white, and when I say just black and white, I mean all white or all black with no values in between, that would be high contrast. That would be as high a contrast as you can get. And if you compress that value range, which is a lot of fun, I can't wait till I'll do a class about that on inside the Painter's Path, you know, value contrast or compressing your value range in a painting. That's always really fun. That was like my intro into how to move away from imagery and find your own voice. It was all about compressing the range of value within the painting, and that was it. And then after that, I was like, it just opened up this world for me of understanding. Michael says you can make a contrast with value, with chroma, and with temperature. It all really comes back to value, right? Well, you know, Nicholas Uribe had a whole week. I think he did 5 paintings, okay? And it was really cool. You guys should watch that. Nicholas Uribe, Uribe. Check him out. It's Our Painted Lives on YouTube. And his Patreon as well is amazing, which I'm part of. I don't do a lot in there because I'm so busy all the time. But anyway, so he did a whole week where he removed value and he mixed up colors for paintings that he was making. They were all the same value. It was like, and all the difference was either a hue or temperature change, right? And they're really interesting paintings. You can barely tell. I mean, what's resulted is flatness, lots of flatness, very little depth. You can get some depth through change in saturation or change in hue, but honestly, not much at all. Not much at all. Really, really interesting paintings on that. So value is what really provides all the depth. And even if, like you say, okay, I'm going to work on this particular painting and trying to change more about saturation and hue rather than value, you will lose a lot of depth within that. You can get those changes though. There's a lot of, paint oranges for example, or any very saturated fruit. Oranges I always found was really interesting. Sunflowers, really interesting because they have like this tremendous saturation in the light and shadow areas. And it's really confusing on the values because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't see if that's lighter or darker because it's so saturated. It really makes it difficult to see the value ranges. But as soon as you take that super saturated painting and like you take it onto your phone and you turn it black and white, remove all the saturation, you see all the values within it. And you're like, oh, okay, that's a lighter value, darker value, blah, blah, blah. So it does affect, it's more like an optical kind of illusion on that. So you are right in a sense. Like if you have high saturation in a darker area, it'll look brighter. So it kind of makes it look to our eyes like it's a higher value, but in reality, it's mostly not. Am I live on Twitch? I missed a comment, so I have to go into YouTube, the stream, and see it. Sorry, guys. I'm really slow on catching up with what you're saying. Working, lurking. Yeah, you can make contrast with value with chroma and with temperature. Chroma meaning saturation. Yeah. Got my drawing stuff rounded up because my one of my granddaughters has cheer practice today. Then they alternate through the week, and I'll keep myself busy. Yeah, definitely. I don't have kids. I have cats. I can't imagine. Well, a friend of mine has got 3 kids and a whole farm right now. So it's interesting kind of having fun watching him juggle all of that together. And every time we meet on Saturday and talk, it's like, okay, I can't complain about not having time for X or Y. It's really dirty looking up there. Kind of like it. Lots of browns and things up there. Dirty and muddy, and it's a perfect contrast. Ooh. Perfect contrast to high saturation areas down here and then no saturation up there, right? Kind of like that. I'm going to push that a little bit further by mixing up some grays. And think about just the value within these grays and throw them in places where the value makes sense. And kind of gray things out. Really pushing it back. Pushing it back. What do I mean by that? See, I always got to think about the words that I use. The level of interest and how attractive I think that your eye would be to certain things, right? That's what I mean by pushing it back, like making it uninteresting, there, but not attracting your attention as least attention getting as possible, pushing it back. That's what I mean by that. No reference for this one. I am working from a reference. The model requested that I do not show this reference on stream, the actual photo. So I am respecting their requests, and you will not even see the reference on my post, my daily art posts as well. So, which is going to be pretty cool. Speaking of that, I was thinking about this. I'm just going to throw it out here. Okay. I'm just going to throw it out and see, because I think it would be kind of fun and different. And I'm always thinking about fun and different stuff. Right. So this photo and the previous 4 paintings that I did with the Our Body series, I think you guys, if you go back to the previous streams on those paintings, you remember the questions that I asked this model about parts of their body and how they feel about them, and using their hands to describe their feelings, right? On their parts of their body. I need models. I need people to take pictures of themselves thinking in this way and submit me those photos. So if anybody here listening to me wants to be painted in this way, be serious about it. This is a serious thing for me. So that, this isn't like send me a funny photo and I'll paint it. No. So the questions are, what part of your body do you enjoy and you're totally fine with showing off to other people, right? Keep it PG on these photos, right? PG, not rated R. Okay. So a part of your body that you're okay with showing to others, right? You don't try and cover things like that. Then a part of your body that you don't like to show, that you're unhappy with. We all have those parts of our body where we're like, yeah, not really happy with that, right? It's usually my midsection. That's always a problem. Always been a problem. Probably because I eat way too much all the time. And that's going to do it, right? So those two parts, and then a part of your body that ails you. So something like, scars or, I've had a kidney transplant. So that's where I would go with that, right? Which has caused so many issues in my life, right? Let's not get into that one. So those three parts of your body, think about how you feel about those parts of your body, okay? And don't say it out loud, but communicate it with your hands on that part of your body. And then the photos of that interaction would be done in direct sunlight. That's it. That's all. Pretty simple, right? If it's something that you'd like to do and submit to me, you know how to get to me. And if you don't, just ask. It's pretty easy. I'll give you my email. Because I wouldn't mind painting strangers. I mean, you guys, I know you guys from the streams and things like that, but come on, we're still kind of strangers, right? Be kind of interesting. And let me know if you want to show those images on stream or not. If not, they won't, or anywhere. No one ever would see those images except for me. It would just be my painting of those images. But I think it would be pretty fun. I like this series so much that I feel like I could do, a whole bunch of paintings within it before I get tired of it, before I'm on to something else. I do have another local model that we use on Life Drawing, and they are willing to pose for me as well for that. So I'll reach out to you, Krista says. I did like the reference last night. Oh, wonderful. Meredith says, you put so much effort into your videos. We are grateful. Oh, thank you, Meredith. I appreciate that you say that because, the stream is actually pretty easy. I mean, I just show up and talk and try and paint something well. This is the easier. But when within the courses, I write the script and rewrite the script and write the handouts, and it is a lot of work. I finished editing the video from yesterday, so that's up and live on the Painter's Path, so that's out there. If you guys want to partake in that, please do. chrisbevan.com, sign up. Sorry I'm like pushing that so much. I know most of the people that are on here have been on here several times, so they already know anyway. So, okay. But thank you so much for that, Meredith. I appreciate that. Krista says, sounds good. Meredith, how do I enroll for the course? Go to my website. It's right down here. So chrisbevan.com/TPP. Or if you go to chrisbevan.com and at the very top, you'll see the Painter's Path at the top, and that'll take you to everything. Yeah. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. I'd love to try and sell it to you. Actually, what I want to do is when people get into the Painter's Path, if you're not like blown away with everything that I'm giving you or like trying to give you there, let me know and say, hey, you know what I need? I need this, Chris. And I want people to like go in there and go, why is this only $10 a month and the first month only $5? Like, how is this so cheap for all this? I want people to be blown away. I feel like, the companies that I keep coming back to and businesses and small businesses and things like that are the ones that provide such a tremendous value for what I pay for, that I'm just flabbergasted that I'm paying so little for it. Like, how is this so amazing and so cheap at the same time? And that's what I want. I want people to be like amazed at, how inexpensive it is. So I always want the customer, the artist that I'm trying to teach and help to win all the time. I always love it when people tell me, like with my paintings, like I show them in galleries and stuff, and everyone's like, you know what? You should probably raise your prices, Chris. And that tells me, oh, they're at the right price. If you feel like they're so good that they're too cheap for what you're getting, then yeah, that's exactly where I want to be. That's exactly where I want to be. They'll go up eventually. Like I've recently raised for these recent 5 paintings, I have raised my prices on those a little bit. They're not posted yet because I'm actually doing some really interesting panels for them. I tried framing them and I hate the frames within these paintings. So I'm creating a whole experience that extends from the painting into the frame. Really thinking about that a lot more than just, throwing it out there and not thinking about it beyond just the painting. So trying to get better in that aspect as well. Sorry, I tend to talk about everything all the time, all at once. Another person says, Chris, I'm getting blasted on YouTube with videos about how I quit my job and became a full-time artist, how I earned $200,000 annually in art. It's actually more discouraging than helpful. Oh, God. Let me help you. I don't know if this is going to be helpful at all. I'm barely making any money on this. We're living off of our savings right now, mostly. My partner has a job, right, that doesn't cover all the bills at all whatsoever, right? So, we pull a lot of money from our savings, and this is how I'm doing this, is because I wanted to do it. We decided together that we were going to try it, because if I don't try it, I was always going to wonder the rest of my life if I could make it happen. I'm trying not to make this like a sob story kind of thing. Please give me money, right? Nothing like that. No, I'm trying to be as really honest about it as possible. Like, yeah, I'm not making a lot of money right now. It's okay. Because I'm building up the Painter's Path. Hopefully that will become very full with a lot of content that a lot of people would love and would be okay with a very inexpensive subscription price, which is always worrying me, because subscriptions right now, bigger companies are doing a bunch of BS with terrible subscriptions. But yeah, I'm not sure what people are doing to make $200K a year, or, a bunch of money a year. I'm sure that, it from what the artists that I've seen that are doing pretty well, they have diversified their income in a bunch of different ways. And that's what I'm doing as well. It's, I know that I'm not going to make all my money from my paintings, because I want to sell them inexpensively. And I did the math on it. It was like, in order to make what money I need, the enough that I've decided for myself and us, I would have to sell my paintings at a very high price, which, I'm just not that famous enough for that to happen. And it was like, no, that doesn't feel good to me. I can't put like $800 on these little paintings, right? There's no way people are going to buy those. So I diversify. So YouTube is providing me $30-$40 a month, maybe, with for the amount of following that I have, which maybe it'll cover some supplies. I need to stop buying brushes. That's the problem. Buying too many brushes, buying too much supplies. But then also, I'm doing classes locally, in-person stuff, the Painter's Path as well. And yeah, mentorships. I got people signed up for mentorships, which is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying talking with a lot of people about that. I love that interaction. It's so great, because it's like, oh, this is all about them. I have a forum or a place where I can really focus on this person and say, okay, let's figure this out. And, accountability, all the stuffs. pushing people to do certain things that they don't want to do, cracking the whip, right? Or just showing up and talking about art for a couple hours. So I'm diversifying. That will help that. So hopefully that's a little bit less discouraging, because I don't see how people's making that much money. Oh, Meredith says, yes, sure, I will send you a photo for paintings. Yes, I have cancer operation scars. Oh, that would be very interesting. Yeah, write to me about that. If you want to share a bit more as well, or just the images and seeing if you can express that feeling through your hands. Oh, fantastic. Yes, please. Let me go ahead and put my email in chat real quick so you guys have it. It's really easy. If you know my name, you know my email. Chris@chrisbevan.com. Look at that. Everybody's going to see it. Don't worry. I got tech stuff that, if I can erase that email and start it over if I need to. I got to get ready for work, but I found the website. Will enroll. Got it. Cheers. Have a great day. I will watch the rerun. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Meredith. I appreciate you. Sell away, Chris. All right, we'll be talking to your Meredith from Australia, which is fantastic. I need to get people onto. Oh, you guys tell me this. Here's a question for everyone that's here. Discord. How many of you would be interested in connecting on Discord? Because I'm liking that idea, because I would like to have not only, where we can share stuff on Discord, like between each other, it's a safe space. It would need to be a safe space, right? I would create as much of a safe space as possible. But also like having like once a week just for people on Discord, where I just show up and we chat about art together. Like I want more personal interaction with everything that I'm doing. That's the way I want to go with this. I think that's like the best way for everything. I mean, especially with all of this stuff going to, digital means, with AI coming in and everything. And it's like, it's hard to get a hold of people at other companies and talk to them about issues that you have or whatever. I think the opposite of all that is where, people are really going to respond well to it. So having like closer interactions. So what do you guys think about Discord and having something like that? Because I have a Discord server already set up. It would just be like, hey, let's get it on there and figure it out. I would show up on it every day and tell you guys when the stream is even, or if I'm planning on the stream or what I'm working on, or what you guys are working on. I think that would be a lot of fun. But most importantly, like once a week, connecting with people in person so that you can actually talk to me. Not, you could type back and forth, but it would be on a video call on Discord so we could talk to each other. And I think that would be interesting, because I have lots of questions, like specific questions. And actually, I want to go through some comments on YouTube here in a moment when I feel like this painting's done, because there's so much specific things that I'm thinking about when people ask questions within YouTube and other places. And I'm like, okay, man, I really wish I could ask this person like 10 questions about what they're seeing and what materials they have, so I can help them for, what they're talking about. I think Discord would be good on that. Krista says, I'm just going to say that we found a gem in finding you on here. Oh, I appreciate that. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. We have all learned so much, and we are so lucky to find you. Oh, thank you so much, Krista. I'm getting embarrassed now. I'm going to be turning red. To those of you that are curious about the Painter's Path, there is a lot to come. Yeah, I have so much planned. And guess what? I'm going on vacation soon. And I feel like I'm feeling bad about that, but I can't, because I need the vacation. But yeah, so much coming soon. Like everything I know is going to be going up there. It's just, getting the time to create the videos. And that's why I'm making a change soon. Like this will be my last painting on stream here. That's just like me painting for a bit. And I'll probably be focusing on like every stream that I do is going to be a video for the Painter's Path as well. So it's going to be a lot of focus on learning, a lot of focus on materials, on the drawing course, and then painting and stuff like that. So that way I can do what I love, which is here on stream and talking to people. And it's really motivating to start those videos here and then to edit them down for YouTube and the Painter's Path. Like this is the generator for everything. So that's the idea going forward. Chris has said it's so worth it, and my jaw dropped at the future classes. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, Discord. I love it. Okay, good. Awesome. I'll start getting that set up. Discord. I'm gonna write it down. Dennis says, I'd love to enroll and support you more. I admire you as an artist, a teacher, and in general, you're just a cool guy. Unfortunately, it's just not a good time for me. Right? Totally cool. Awesome, dude. No worries. I understand that. Like there's so many artists around here that I want to buy their beautiful artwork because it's so good. I want to buy more Nicholas Uribe paintings, but it's like, I just don't have the money for it, or the time. So Discord. Set up. Well, it's already set up. I just need to share it with you guys, don't I? A Jamal. Is this acrylic painting? No, it's oil painting. Welcome, Jamal. A Jamal. So I'm painting in oil. This is on a sheet of 140-pound watercolor paper that's been primed with PVA size by Gamblin. 2 coats on the front, 1 on the back, just to straighten it all out. And usually I use a much more limited palette, but for these paintings, I've been popping in all kinds of crazy coloration. So I'm using a split primary palette, basically red, yellow, and blue with a warm red, warm red, cool red, warm yellow, cool yellow, warm blue, cool blue. That kind of thing. And all of these paints are mostly Winsor Newton Winton or Phoenix Artist Oils, which are student grade paints and very cheap brushes. I do everything on the cheap. We can make paintings that can be worthy of museums with super cheap materials. We don't need expensive stuff to make wonderful paintings. Okay, let's look at this on stream because I think it might be complete. Yeah, maybe soften a little bit of that. No, I don't like softening things out too much. 2 ways of softening things, okay? Let's talk about this real quick. See how up here it's like, it feels energetic and jittery. It's like all these brush strokes, like it's vibrating. Vibration. Down here, we got less vibration. It's a little bit calm. Even though we got crazy colors, it's still a little bit more calm as far as texture is concerned. Now, I could go up here and I could take a soft brush and I could go and, because it's oil, I can lightly kind of soften some of these edges. But it tends to look like mannequin when I do that. Don't really like the way it looks. So other way of softening out all that jitteriness is to add in like small changes in value with sharp edges. Like more transitions within these values. So it's basically, it's still softening in a way, but you soften with color transition, value transition. Okay. Let me show you what I mean a little bit more succinctly as I put a few of these strokes down. Getting a little bit wider, a little bit lighter in value. So this right here, it's like going from dark to light, okay? But it's more like there's a dark patch of color, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, and they're clearly separated. really removes a lot of that jitteriness without resulting in smoothing and softening things out too much, if that makes sense. Yes, oil does take longer to dry, Jamal, but that really depends. That depends on so many things. So don't, um, for example, sometimes I paint pretty thin. And like if you paint really thin or even somewhat thick, and your initial layer is using burnt umber, it's going to be dry the next day. Most of the manufacturers, burnt umber is one of those colors that dries really fast. A lot of my paintings, like I'll paint pretty thin throughout the whole painting, and then it takes like a week and it's dry to the touch. A couple more weeks after that, and it's ready for varnish. So it's not like in those instances, it takes months to dry. Of course, it's very different than acrylic, which within minutes, less than minutes, it's dry, and you can layer and layer and layer over each other pretty quickly. So there is some differences in there. But then there's also ways to prevent drying to happen really fast, or you can make it dry faster with certain mediums if you need to, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of all over the board. I mean, you could adjust the paint or paint really thick, paint on a very non-absorbent surface. So it takes like this is going to take a month and a half to dry these thick whites, because titanium white is notorious for taking a long time to dry, or longer than most things. So it ranges all over the place, but you'll never, maybe you could probably get something that dries not as fast as acrylic, but close to it. I worked with Winsor Newton Griffin paints for a while once, and they're an alkyd based paint. They have an alkyd medium within the paint itself, and those, like within, I'm going to say 45 minutes, they were pretty much dry. It was interesting. As I was working it, the paint was drying and getting really thick, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I would still be using them now, but alkyd mediums smell. They have an odor to them, and I'm very sensitive to those odors. So, nope, I had to get rid of it. Come on, get darker. Winsor Newton Griffin. I think it's Gryfin, if I know that correctly. Cookie Monster says, Chris, could you tell me what I would take to become the new Van Gogh? What you would do? Okay, you ready for this? I'll tell you, because I know the secrets, as you see on YouTube everywhere, the secret to this and the secret to that, because the Cookie, man, they're hiding all the secrets. Everybody's been hiding the secrets for years, and only a certain amount of YouTubers know the real secrets. I'm being as sarcastic as possible. But if we were really to think about that, which is a wonderful question, what it would take for me to be the next Van Gogh. Well, number one, you would need to not sell paintings ever. That would be what you would need to do to be like Van Gogh. But I don't think you mean that part. I think you mean like painting like Van Gogh. He was prolific. I sometimes I yearn for a cabin in the woods with no technology, no nothing. Okay. If you get a chance, watch the movie by Julian Schnabel, At Eternity's Gate. So it's about Van Gogh. William Dafoe is playing Van Gogh. Okay, fantastic movie. It's probably one of the best depictions of Van Gogh out there. It follows closely to the book Van Gogh, The Life, which is the treatise on who Van Gogh was. It is the book that really talks about the history of Van Gogh. And the very beginning of that movie, I believe it starts, at least this is what I remember first about the movie, was this cabin, and it's just like a wooden box. that the camera's inside of, and there's like wind and rain outside, and it's rattling this cabin like crazy. And then William Dafoe as Van Gogh pops in, like comes in with all of his easel and everything. I think he's wet, he's disheveled. I mean, Van Gogh disheveled. I mean, like we associate artists with disheveled because of Van Gogh, I think. And he comes in, sets down takes his shoes off, sets down everything, and sets up his easel with a new canvas and starts painting his shoes. And it's just him in this. There's no music. There's no drama to it. There's nothing. It's quiet. It's this rattling box of a home that is made of nothing. And it's just him, his paint, and his shoes. And I was just enthralled with it. Like this is what I want. This is like, yes, like, and I think it really described like our idea of who Van Gogh was as a person. Just so deep in the creative process that nothing existed. Like it didn't matter where he was, how bad the conditions were, if he was in an asylum or not. It was him trying to describe the world around him in the meager paints and things that his brother gave him, the money that he was given by his brother and materials just to make the paintings he could. He was just enthralled by it. And I think in order for us to like get to that point, it's not easy. We have to find something within ourselves, like our artistic way of communicating, whatever that may be, that we're just so deeply enthralled with it that the rest of the world just kind of fades away. Finding what you love. It's not about painting and getting better at painting. At that point, like all of that stops. Watching YouTube videos and everything, it doesn't matter. Van Gogh didn't have YouTube, didn't have any of that stuff. Barely had books that he could read on painting. It was just him trying to understand the world around him and how much he loved translating it in his own way. He was still trying to sell his paintings and everything. I mean, he was definitely thinking about marketing and all this other stuff. But yeah, I think that was his leading idea. Just the passion for it, the tremendous passion for it. And then when he didn't have the tremendous passion for it, it was like, I need money. And did it because he had to try and sell, and a lot of it was probably guilt, because if you read Van Gogh, The Life, I mean, he didn't sell one painting until he's died. And his brother was supporting him this whole time. Like, of course he's going to feel like, oh man, I'm just using them. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know, because a lot of his letters back and forth were kind of demanding. So maybe he didn't. But I love that idea of just getting lost in the art sometimes, and just getting lost in it. I think he was able to find like this continuous flow state and interest. When he went to Paris, when he lived in Arles, he created 200 paintings in like 2 years. Now think about that. 2 years, it's 104 weeks, right? So 2 paintings a week about. And these aren't small paintings. And these are big paintings. These are important paintings. Like almost all of them we look at when he was in France as to be like priceless almost, right? But before that, like all the artwork that he did before that, we don't really care about, because it was only after he got into saturated color that we really care about. But anyway, just getting lost in it, having a crazy work ethic that moves through that passion, finding our passion first. I think a lot of us get it wrong. Like we put this idea of like learning how to draw first, learning how to paint first. How can I make money on this, or how can I sell my paintings, but and then learn how to do it well. And like, that's where we lead everything. When I think if we led with what am I passionate about, and how do I think about the world around me, and how do I communicate that and translate that through the materials that I want to use, I think that would lead us to the success more than anything else. But it was a fun question. Jamal says, I've never painted before. I got only acrylic paint. Can you dilute painting? Oh, that's a very good question. I got cute pictures of kittens on my watch. So Jamal, acrylic. I never painted before. I got only acrylic painting. Can you dilute painting? Well, you can dilute acrylic paint in water if you want, and there's mediums as well. Yeah, do some. You don't have to dilute it either. You can paint with paint right out of the tube. Really, all you need. This is to simplify things down to like the most basics. Surface, brush, paint. That's all you need, really. And a light. You don't want to paint in the dark, or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you have glow in the dark paint. That would be kind of cool. But just have a brush, or it could be a stick, anything to apply the paint onto a surface and the paint itself. And just go for it, Just say, let go of like the perfectionist idea of, well, if I'm going to do this painting thing, I need to do it right. No, just do it. Let your interest point you to what you need to know next, right? Yeah, paint something to apply it with and a surface to apply it on, and just have fun. Yeah, definitely. Krista says, don't feel guilty for taking a vacation. Everyone needs to get away from reality. Yes, definitely. One question. When you edit the videos, will you be in the premiere while it's showing? I know you explained it, but dang, German shepherds are loud. Will you be in the premiere while it's showing? I know when you edit videos. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Krista. Well, I mean, you'll see, like when I edit the videos from here, it still shows me and everything I do. I just edit out like the commentary back and forth within the stream, basically. That's most of the stuff. Jamal says, if you use expensive paint, can the painting become more impressive than cheap paint? Oh, that's a really good question. I love that question. It's so good. And this is, I talk a lot about this. To make it very simple for you, Jamal, use cheap paint, especially if you've never painted before, because you would not be able to tell the difference between expensive paint and cheap paint, okay? Within reason, okay? If you go to like Walmart or your local department store, Target, and I don't know where you live, could be other stores like the big box stores that sells groceries along with paints. Go to a dedicated art store and ask for, I want student grade inexpensive paints, right? I want inexpensive brushes, inexpensive paints, inexpensive surfaces. You can make masterpieces with super cheap paints. Nicholas Uribe, check him out on YouTube. He uses inexpensive paints, and he's a 10 times better artist than I am. He's an amazing artist. He's always used inexpensive paints. And you build resilience that way, because especially with the surfaces and the brushes, if you start out inexpensive and not particular, and you just go for it, you try and express yourself, soon you find that you can paint on anything. It doesn't matter. And honestly, I have some expensive paints, expensive and inexpensive, and I can barely tell the difference between them, right? Does the painting become more impressive than cheap paint? No. It's all about skill. The materials never matter as much as your skill, okay? The better you get at painting and drawing, particular drawing, honestly, before you're painting, if you've never painted before, I would do a lot of drawing, and especially if you're doing representational work. If you're doing abstraction, still draw all the time. It's the most foundational and important thing you can ever do. But wait, what was I saying? But inexpensive paints, inexpensive materials is always the way to go. Always the way to go. It's all about your skill that you put into it. I've seen, that's what I was going to say. The better you get at it, the better you get at drawing and painting. It doesn't matter the materials. You could use a chocolate bar on a piece of wood and making a beautiful drawing. I'm serious on that. Cookie says, LOL, I'm ready. I'm sure you know, Chris. Krista, Cookie Monster, you're hilarious. Yeah, I'm glad you watched the movie, Cookie. It is very good. I love Julian Schnabel. One of my most favorite movies ever was his movie on Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat. I watched that in the early 90s when it came out in the movie theaters. That's how old I am. So good. So any Julian Schnabel movie. So Julian Schnabel was an artist back in 70s and 80s. He did the plate paintings. He actually featured himself in the Basquiat movie played by Gary Oldman. That was really cool. Krista says, I do have a serious question. Why do so many oil painters use lead Kremitz white? That stuff scares me. Scares the crap out of me. And I know that everyone says you are fine. Just don't eat it. Oh, God. Years ago, I used lead white, Kremitz white. And I hear all of these artists, oh, it's so good. It's the best white. They'll wax poetically. I'm done with this painting. The painting looks good. I'm happy with the painting. They'll wax poetically on this lead white. Of course they have to, because it's expensive, but it's lead. It's the reason why we have unleaded gasoline, because as soon as that goes out into the air, it started killing everybody, causing cancer and everything. It's the worst stuff you could ever buy. It's the worst paint that you can buy, okay, for oil painting. The fact that they still make it, I think, is terrible. You should never make lead white ever again. I even see people that will get lead carbonate or whatever in powder form and grind it up and make their own paints without wearing a mask. And I'm like, oh my God, you're just going to hurt yourself, okay? But I've used lead white before. It has certain properties to it. Did it make my paintings better? Heck no, not at all. Was it that much different than titanium white? A little bit. It's a little bit more sticky, a little bit more pliable. Had an interesting kind of texture to it, a little bit warmer, not as cool. But then Gamblin makes a lead-free white, like a lead white alternative. That was super close, about the same. So why get that white? It doesn't make sense to me. People are saying, everyone says you're fine, just don't eat it. Well, they're not thinking about the environment and their surroundings either. If you get lead white, you get it on your painting, that's fine. Like most of it's on your painting. But what about all the stuff that you clean off your palette with, right? That goes into your brush, that goes into, your can of safflower oil. You have lead in that, okay? You have to go through, and it depends on your location, where you're at, you have to go through some very arduous steps to dispose of that well and pay money to dispose of that well. You can't just put it down the drain or put it in your garbage. No, you cannot do that. It's bad. So my opinion on it, Those people are only thinking very narrow-mindedly about just their painting, and they've spent a lot of money on it, and maybe they like it for certain instances, but everything that comes along with it is not worth it, in my opinion. Okay, not worth, in my opinion. Yeah, or a stick, Dennis. I've seen artists paint with everything, credit cards and cut up pieces of wood and all kinds of stuff. Make some really interesting textures. Look at, oh gosh, what was the artist's name that we were looking at a week ago? He paints with molten metal on canvases. Ugh, crazy. Like, that's the other stage past lead white. Let's just like melt metal and pour it onto things. Yeah, that's, what I'm talking about. Hopefully. I'll remember his name in a second. Yep, that's basic. All right. Yep. Cookie says, you can also add sawdust or sand to paint or mix it with something. Yeah, I've heard about that. Like, there's all kinds of different things that you can add to your paint. I heard that, I'm not sure how true this is, like Rembrandt crushed up glass for his paintings sometimes. And some kefir. Thank you, Cookie. Appreciate that. That was the name. From the premieres, while it's playing for the first time, will you be in the comment area and we could talk amongst ourselves? Oh, are you talking about on Discord? Yeah, if you're talking about Discord, yeah, like I want everybody to be talking together, like, and just having a good time. It won't be recorded. It'll just be us on Discord. Yeah, definitely. Cookie says, Chris, you say someone is 10 times as good as you, but that means he is better than Rembrandt. Oh, if you're doing the real math, like maybe this is a very subjective number that I'm just throwing out there. Yeah. But maybe you're saying that I'm 10 steps away from Rembrandt. I wish, dude. I'm like 4,000 steps away from Rembrandt. I need like 6 or 7 lifetimes to get as good as he is. Lead in paint is so passe. I love that. That's good. Yeah, there's so many artists that are painting like they're back in the 1800s. No, you need like the lead white and this and all this other stuff, and they're like, oh, you're not a real artist unless you paint from life and the figures in front of you. Oh, whatever. Let all that go. Another person says, Chris, enjoy your vacation in case I don't see you later this week. Okay, well, thank you. I will. Well, it'll be first 2 weeks in September, just about. I'll be off everything. Staycation. Okay, so this painting's looking good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to stop painting on it. That's enough. That's enough. Yeah, I've learned so much on this painting. Had a lot of fun with it. I think this is the new Chris way of working. Probably not that thick all the time, but I'm finding a very particular voice for myself. Now, what I want to do right now is I want to go through commentary. Okay. One thing that I do, and you guys may know this if you put comments on any of my videos, that every day I'll go through, not every day, but every now and then I'll go through comments and I'll answer comments. And I'm happy that I'll answer 100% of comments unless I miss it accidentally. And the reason why I want to do this, even though, we're an hour and 40 minutes in, is because I have a few questions here that maybe you guys can help me with. So what I'm going to be doing is probably flipping back and forth between this screen, which has all the comments here, or all your current comments, and then the comments on YouTube videos. But there's a few questions that I have. And then I do want to point out this. So this person here, Denton Hoyer 383. I love everybody that makes comments, positive or negative. But I think everything is like a teaching moment. And I can help people, even if they don't want to be. Like, this person will never probably even watch this stream or any of my streams. They're just on here just to throw a comment down just to be heard. So they say zinc sulfide, a component of lithopone, is essentially insoluble in water. So any aquatic harm is due to other components like sulfactants in water miscible paints. Also, the sulfide rather than zinc oxide does not contribute to a brittle paint film. The counter ion is important, and menthol sulfides are generally of low aqueous solubility. I don't know what any of that means, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm like super smart, right? It sounds like this is an AI return, or maybe this guy is super smart and knows everything about this. But let me continue. There is much confusion out there regarding relative hazards and toxicities. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Can I make this bigger so everybody can see it? No, it just messes up the whole screen. I would recommend zinc sulfide white as an alternative to lead as a mixing white for the reasons I have stated. So maybe I made a comment on the water mixable oils video about lead white and how awful it is. But the whites that I recommended for water mixable oils was ceramic white. No mention of, like, I should suggest lead white to people. And then this last sentence here, do the research. So the tone of this is, look how smart I am. I know all of this, okay, which, by the way, very, I'm sure, thought out, and this person understands what it means, but it's unhelpful to me. You know, there's technical language that we can talk within, you know, different ways just to seem smart and intelligent. And then there's ways that we can simplify that language so it's understandable to most people. This person seems to me like they just wanted to show that, hey, look how smart I am. And you're wrong. And then throw in, you know, the little bit of a troll there, do the research, which is funny. So there is a better way of talking to people. And if you were helpful, if you were trying to be helpful, thank you for the comment, by the way. If you're trying to be helpful, I think you would probably word this a bit differently. Okay, definitely. So words matter, okay? But I asked the question, as an alternative lead white, I don't need to research that. It's obvious that lead white is one of the worst paints you could ever purchase. Thanks for the details, but I'm already avoiding all of that with my ceramic white that I suggested. Did you catch that part about ceramic white being my white of choice for water mixable oil? So maybe they missed it. They could have. Good comment, you know, with some technical information there, but, you know, zinc sulfide white, where would you buy that out? I've never seen zinc sulfide white for water mixable oils. Doesn't seem something close to me, so very unhelpful within that. A lot of comments, you know, there's, with every comment on there that is like somewhat negative or trying to be helpful and they're not, I have like 10 comments of other people saying, thank you so much for this. Here's the comment that I want to ask you guys, because I get comments like this all the time. So for everyone here on the stream, how do you wipe paint from brushes while working on a painting? I find that the paints get muddy unless I swish it in Gamsol. Okay. I want to talk about this. Okay. Let me look at some of these comments first. Hey, Chris, enjoy. Okay. I mean, when you buy a house, it has to be checked for lead. I just find it odd. Yeah, I know. Like there's like asbestos, lead, you know, all this stuff. Like, why would you put it in your paint? You don't need it. You don't need it. Anyway, Dennis says, how about this painter? West 21 Schwartzmailer. I have no idea who that is. I'm guessing that's a Instagram handle. Oh, pretty cool cityscapes. Green cityscapes. Cool painter. Well, I'll show. So this is West 21 Schwarzmaler. That may be German, I would say. These are gorgeous. Wow, really cool. It would... Oh, I love the daisies in here. Look how expressive all this is. Flat brushes. I love flat brushes. All nothing but flats. Wonderful. Yeah, beautiful painter. Fantastic. I really like how precise a lot of the brushwork is. Like this is like the technology age of painting, right? Where they even have like, look how printed, they're well printed. Where everything is very sharp, sharp edges everywhere. You can really tell contemporary artwork like this. Oh, those are really very pretty printed paintings. Very gorgeous. Yeah. That's one thing I don't do prints. I hate the way prints look. Like they're so, they don't feel near as good as the painting does. So no matter how well I've got them printed. So very cool. Look at that fork and knife diving into. It looks like this person is probably working in game development. Like they're an environmental designer as well. That's what they look like. That they've done it in digital art, so now they're painting, or maybe it was always digital or always traditional for them. Very cool. Look at that on the side of a building. That's really cool. Yeah, celebrate these awesome artists. Celebrate them, but be careful. It has no commentary on where I am as an artist as well. Cookie says, someone who is 10 times as good as you, Chris, is 2 times as good as Rembrandt, which means you're halfway. Oh my God, that's math, dude. Your painting has great effect of depth to it. It looks really good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Don't forget to hit the like button, everyone. Yeah, like and subscribe. Krista, I'm going to click the like button. Hitting it, it's exactly good for my computer. Yeah. No, punch your screen. Yeah. That's funny. That painter's videos are really trippy. Oh, I'll have to watch them. I think I still have them in my browser, so I'll watch them soon. But that's the question I have, because I get this all the time, okay? So I have my can here. Number one, this is safflower oil. I don't use any solvents. Haven't used solvents for over a decade. You don't need them. Number one, never need solvents when you paint. The only time you would, caveat after I said that, the only time you would need solvents when you're painting is if you like the feel of thinned paint for that initial drawing layer. That's the only, because I haven't found a direct replacement for that. Now, I'm here, okay? This is like, let's add in a bit of red and alizarin crimson. This is like a very, like a cool reddish kind of color, right? Now, what I'm going to do, okay, and this is, basic inexpensive paint and then a synthetic brush. And then I go into my paper towel here and I squeeze my brush. I squeeze the bristles, right? And I probably do it like once or twice. And it gets down to like that, you see? That's how much paint. I could do it a third time, right? Third time, and it gets down to that. Now let's move to a different color. So we're like in red-violet territory. I want to go all the way to yellow-green. That's an extreme change, okay? Yellow-green to red-violet. And, that's not super intense, but we're going all the way across the color wheel. So probably the best thing for me to do is use a different brush if I'm wanting very intense color. But watch this. I'm going to pick up a big chunk of this lemon yellow. Actually, this is bismuth yellow, okay? Big chunk of that, and then a chunk of my cobalt teal, which I don't use very much of because it's cobalt. Oh, I need more of it. Okay. And I'm going to mix this together. You saw how much paint was in my brush, right? It was some paint in there, but that color is not changed. Let's do a very scientific test on it. Next thing I'm going to do, same brush with that color in it. I'm going to push a lot harder. So I'm really pushing out any of that alizarin crimson and really pressing hard and getting as much paint out of that as possible. You see how that color has changed? And then even further, really thin paint, mixing it deep within my brush, really pressing my brush hard, and even more. More and more red is kind of coming out of that brush because I'm working this brush till it's dead. There's like no paint in there whatsoever, okay? And then I have a color change. That purity has left. There's a way to manipulate your brush where you don't do that. It's a very soft way of working, okay? Let's check it out in a very scientific way. I'm going to get a clean brush. Ooh, a brand new brush I haven't even used before. Let's use this one. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. Look, I haven't even used that brush. It's as clean as a brush can ever get. Not used. A big chunk of that yellow again. And then a big chunk of my blue here. I'm going to mix these up a little bit more. This cobalt teal. Those colors are exactly the same. If there is a difference, it's so small. It is so tiny between those two. Because the complaint that I always get, like, how do you change mixtures within your brush when you go from one to the other? Okay. And I have to answer this question all the time. I'll continually have to answer this question all the time. It's okay. Keep asking it. That's totally fine. Right? Because not everyone's watching at this moment or going to watch this moment of this video. So I understand that. But if you paint thick enough, that problem goes away. All you need to do is, like I do here, just pulling some of that paint out and then going into another color. That little bit that's left in the brush is not going to affect another color unless you paint really, really thinly. Then you'll have a lot of effect in that. Now, the probably better thing to do is if you had this alizarin crimson in this color here, right? It was very pure inside this brush, and you knew that you were going all the way across the color wheel into another super intense alternative. Use two different brushes. Use a brush for this one, use a brush for that one. Divide your painting up into that extreme, if you need to, extreme white, extreme dark, that kind of way, extreme values, and keep a more organized palette and brush. The other way of doing it is, like, let's say that you just love this one brush and you want to paint with this one brush because it's the one that you love. Well, fine, no worries. Do this. Wipe it out here, okay? Wipe it out here. And then use my, I'm going to have my safflower oil in this can down here. You're not going to see this because I can't bring it all the way up. And I'm just going to swish it around in safflower oil. No solvent. Just safflower oil. Super safe. It's the same safflower oil that you cook with. Right? Not anymore because I put paint in it. So don't do that. Don't cook with it afterwards. I have to say these stupid things because people might do it. Right? So here we go. So I swished it all out in safflower oil, and now the brush is pretty much 100% clean. That little bit won't even come out on my palette. Like, it's just a little bit of safflower oil in there. Make sure you do squeeze out your brush into a napkin. You don't want safflower oil to get in your paint. You don't want a lot of it in there. Little traces of it will end up in your paint, and that's fine. But it takes forever to dry. So if you want that brush, just do that. Go on to your next paint mixtures, but that takes too long. I would say use multiple inexpensive brushes and organize your palette a little bit better. But I'm thinking the reason why people have so much trouble with that, you guys let me know if I'm right on this, is because everyone paints way too thin. Use more paint. And that could be a result of buying paint that's too expensive and you're afraid to use a lot of paint. That could be it as well. See, there's so like this, it's one comment, okay? One comment from this one person. Thank you so much, Jacqueline Bermude, for asking this, because I get it all the time, especially for my safe non-toxic oil painting video, which I did like forever ago. But I get the same question all the time, and it's great that people ask it. But I'm like, I think it's because people are painting too thinly. And I'm asking them here, do you paint thinly? Because I want to understand why individuals have such an issue with this and how I can help them with it. Right. So, what do you guys think? Let me go back to the stream here. Trippy videos, Chris, finish your thoughts on the commentary. Yes. Yes, thank you, Dennis. That's so true. Thank you. I hit drop my cell all the time. Does that count as hitting the like button? Yes, that counts. It's fine. Drop your cell phone. That's just like a subscribe to me. Dennis says, ultimately, people aren't using enough paint. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that's what, like, it's a symptom of not using enough paint. Yeah. Krista says, yes, and people are probably so scared to use it thicker. Yeah. You know, it took me a while to really put the paint down really thick, to really get used to putting paint down. And here's Vincent. Hi, Vince. Hi, baby. Oh, you got an eye crusty. Let me help you. Ew, eye crusty. I've been napping, Dad. Okay. Now, painting thickly is interesting because as we're talking about it, yeah, you got to pick up a bunch of paint. And don't feel like you have to use different brushes to paint thickly. It depends. I mean, it helps in some instances, okay? I'm going to show you a couple. I'm getting a couple brushes. Yeah, this one. This one is so flopsy though. No, I don't. It's like a wet noodle. I don't want the super wet noodle brush. No, I think I can describe this in a brush that is less wet noodle-like. Whoa, it's so technical. Don't buy the wet noodle brushes. Okay. So these inexpensive brushes that I have, all my brushes are inexpensive. They cost like a few cents on these, but you know, honestly, the new ones I bought are around $5 and $6 a piece, but that's inexpensive in today's terms. For example, this white here, pretty thick. You know, pick up a big chunk. Look at that huge chunk of white. And you're like, whoa, that's way too much. Well, you're not going to put all of that on your painting, maybe. I mean, you're going to put it down and you're going to mix it with something. Like maybe you're doing a very light white and you just want a small adjustment with a little bit of yellow ochre in there just to warm up that white a little bit. And most of it gets mixed here. And then you're left with this much on your brush. But then we have to understand the level of pressure for putting that on our painting. Okay. Now, if we're here in the middle of nowhere on our painting, act like my palette is a painting, right? And I just sit here and I press this brush really hard. Okay. The paint will go down. Okay. And I have nothing beneath it to mix with that paint. But if I get another big chunk of paint, right? And let's say that I want to lighten up this yellow area over here, or even better, like up into this red. And I do the same thing with this very rough kind of blah. I'm going to get a mixture. Look at that. How it mixes together. It's because I'm putting a lot of pressure down. I know I have paint down there. I'm basically pushing all of that paint that I have into the paint that was already down. But watch this. Let's get a big chunk of white, same exact brush. This is a flat brush and the bristles aren't super long. But if I think about, okay, there's some wet paint down there. Let me thicken up as much of the paint on this brush as I can. And we're going to even whisper as we do this. We're going to barely put the paint down. The same happens. No, I'm kidding. Actually, right there, the same did happen. So I need more paint. More paint. Let's layer it very softly. Look at that. I got impasto right over the top of that red. Can't even see the red. More paint. Let's do it again. One more time, just so you guys know it's not, I didn't get lucky on that. Very soft. It's soft. impasto over the top. That one wasn't as thick. I can still see a little bit of red through that. Now watch this. This is a brush that's a bit longer, okay? It's a very soft brush, super soft, you know? Not super soft, it's somewhat soft. It's not like a wet noodle, but it is softer than that brush that I had. The great thing about these softer brushes is these are my like finishing stroke brushes, if you want to call them that. I can layer this even softer, like see how much we cannot disturb the paint below. Super impasto. Now you see how I get a little bit of paint on that brush? I did touch the paint underneath. Now, if I take this back into my white, I'm going to be adjusting my white. So the very first thing I do is I go back to my paper towel. I pull all that paint back out and I get more paint with each stroke. Every single stroke, just throw it down. Now, this is super thick right here on this green. If I take like just a super thick chunk of white, like just massive, this is how I got that super thick white on here. And I would just lay it on top of that paint. Oops. Wasn't a very nice stroke. It was so chunky, it just came out in different ways. Lay it down. And every single stroke I put down, I go back to my napkin, lay that paint over top. Yeah, you're just being very soft with that brush work. This is something you can't do when you're when the paint in your brush is so darn thin, like super thin paint, and you're trying to paint over something else. It's like it's not going to happen. You don't have enough paint. Get more paint, more paint. Even John Singer Sargent said this. We need luscious paint. The great thing about this is once you have like, you know, this red and this white together, you can begin to move things around. Like you can go into like this red a little bit and change the shape of that stroke. You see that? Now that stroke became this little shape. It's because I have enough paint down there on my canvas or whatever I'm working on to affect those strokes in different ways. I can start cutting into that white stroke and making little changes to it. Or let's say that I want a softer edge here because I got enough paint there. I can soften that out a little bit easier, right? More paint will allow you to do that. Soften it all out. Just very slight touches. And learning how to barely touch what's there is very, very important. Getting that touch. So as you can see here, this is really thick paint, right? And then as I move out, I'm barely touching, just dragging a little bit of that white through these other colors. And it gets kind of lighter as I go down. It's just all about how soft the paint goes down. It's no different than, you know, when we're drawing, you know, through the painter's path, when we're doing all of our drawings. I don't even have space to do drawing on here. Let's do it off on the left. So if I'm drawing and I have a number 2 pencil, we don't always have to go hard as possible. Like every single line doesn't have to be us pressing down like, you know, 200 pounds. You know, we can go from that to a medium stroke, to a softer stroke, a softer. Like we're barely even touching the paper down here. We have that ability of touch. We have that ability of pressure. We do that with paint as well as drawing, okay? And to pay attention to that and know when you need it and when you don't, like up here in the top of this painting, super soft, just moving things around a little bit. It's the same reason why we have fan brushes versus like flats and filberts and stuff. Or you have, let me show you this. So this is a bright, right? I think, well, a short flat is what Rosemary is calling it. Okay, dude, you need to go. I'm sorry. You can't like paw at me while I'm working. So as much as I love him, sometimes he's annoying. He's just sitting there purring, trying to love on me. Poor kitten. I'll get to you in a moment. So this is a flat, and this is like a very long, or no, this is a bright, and this is a long flat. But then I also have, wait for it, rosemary, which I barely ever use. Look how long this one is. That's crazy. Crazy long. The difference between these is this flat one or bright one is going to give you very hard lines. It's going to be a lot more pressure on the canvas. You're more likely to pull paint off with this one. And these other two, I mean, especially this one, I mean, you could just barely touch the paint with it. It's just like a little, like a breath is just touching the paint because it's so long. It gives you that ability to really be subtle with your brush strokes. So choosing your brush based on that, you know, how subtle you want to be for the next brush stroke. Those are all synthetic, by the way, so it's very helpful. Oh, thanks for coming, Krista. Sorry, you got to run. See you on the next one. Yeah, so that was about thick and thick paint. Dennis says that's 100% what it is. You know, they're painting too thinly, I think, is a reason why people get too thinly will not allow you to keep your colors very pure if you paint too thin. That's probably the biggest proponent of it. Not everything with, you know, the texture and all that kind of stuff, but learning how to paint thickly will give you a broader range of what you can and can't do. Because it's easy to paint thin, you know, use less paint, especially in your darker areas. Try and keep those thinner and your lighter areas thicker, you know, the very Baroque way of painting, right? That kind of thing. But it will help you have very pure color. And what does that mean? When people say pure color, I'm sorry, I got to define this. Pure color, if we look at a color wheel, right? It's better to look at one that has a completed wheel that goes all the way to the center. I need to just paint one myself. But pure color is all on the outside of the color wheel. And pure color is right out the tube with minimal mixtures. And they're close together on the color wheel, like a very bright yellow mixed with a very bright green, you know, or a very bright blue. We get you that kind of green, right? Very close on the color wheel. On the outside, super pure, super bright, super intense, super high chroma. That means all the same thing, right? On the outside of the color wheel. But remember, life, guys, doesn't exist continually within that level of saturation. So think about, you know, how accurate and how much you want to saturate. I mean, Van Gogh worked like right out of the tube for 90% of his paintings. Okay, missing some comments here. The simple act of adding materials is a fundamental aspect of painting. Yes. Yeah. Trying out different things till you find what you're happy with, and then small adjustments from then. But, you know, and I tell you what, like paint manufacturers, brush manufacturers, surface manufacturers, they know this. They know that artists are going to buy and buy and buy and buy, and they take advantage of it all the time. So if you can find what you like and, you know, do that inexpensively, that's always great. Dennis says, great lesson. Thank you. Man, the amount of depth in those hands is astounding. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think it helps the thick paint and the high contrast between the light and the dark on those. If you notice on this painting, let me go back to it. And I did notice this, there's so much depth right here, but there is a lot of high contrast as well. I think that and several other things. Let me point this out. I was able to get this wonderful color change down here. So if you squint down, the value is pretty dark, but not super dark. It's not like right down in there. But the most important thing is the saturation has changed. So super saturation here, this is almost like cadmium red out of the tube, almost right there on these tips of the big toes here. As we move down, my mixture is like ivory black and Cad Red. I think no. Ivory black, Cad Red, yellow ochre, like right around in there, and a little bit of white. I mean, it's basically like a gray around in here. You can see that's pretty close where I got it. So bringing that saturation down, it's in shadow. So I desaturated, very saturated in what I want to come out to you. Okay. The high contrast as well, and the thickness of paint. Impasto here, much thinner paint down here. Depth, all three of those things. Impasto, high contrast, and then judging your saturation for what you want to come at you, and neutralization for what you want to push back. I mean, look how neutralized this is, right? Right here, push it back. But the top, super thick, super white, super high contrast, as saturated as I can get it, although white is desaturated, but its value is so bright it comes at you. But yeah, just taking that into the fundamentals of painting and playing with it, because even down here is some saturated blues and greens just to play with your brain. And I love it. I think it's fantastic. That, and, you know, having an image where like if you had to paint me doing this, like reaching for you, right? This super foreshortening kind of thing. Like, oh, look at my head, right? I think it's a little bit easier to get that depth of field, that field of depth, because you have all those lines kind of coming that way as well. So that's also a thing. And that's what this is doing also. So everything's going to helping out with that. But, you know, I will say that after I put those colors down, I felt like I got really lucky with that. And then I repeated it in multiple other places, those specific color changes, because it doesn't really happen too much here. This is a darker area from the reference. And it does push back, but it doesn't feel as interesting as this because the value is a lot closer, not as dark as that. And that's what I'm learning a lot, especially with things in shadow, like cast shadows from direct light sources, like the sunlight being direct. We think that those shadows need to be like so close to black, but no, bring up those values on those. They don't need to be that dark. Okay. I have talked way too much. We're well over 2 hours into this. Thank you everyone for showing up, for being here. And again, thank you everybody for commentary on all my videos. Sometimes I wish the language was used a little bit better, but I understand, right? And it could be that the person's like English is their second language, but always think about, anybody that you talk to online or type to, like, how would you talk to them when they're right in front of you? Be good to people. Yeah, I think that's what we need. And you don't need me telling you that. Okay, chrisbevan.com to see everything I do. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Sign up for the Painter's Path. Buy my artwork. Send me a question. Show up here on stream. Be good people. And I'll get Discord going and all that kind of stuff. And I'll shut up. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. You make this so much more enjoyable. Without you, it was less enjoyable. I'll talk to you later, everyone. On the next stream, I'll see you whenever that is. Okay? Bye-bye.